All right, we're at the epilogue, so this is sort of after the ending, and there's another book that goes with this. I think there's one more and then maybe a fourth in the works, so it is a series if you're interested. "Good morning, Ghost," Emily said. As usual, after Morgan had walked Eli to his locker, Emily was there to meet her while she exchanged her backpack for her first period binder and textbook. "Good morning, Holdsy." Morgan gave Emily a hug. Emily patted Morgan on the back for the duration of the hug, while also saying, with a very clear tone of confusion, "I didn't really take you for a hugger there, Morg." The embrace ended. Somehow, even though she was exhausted, Morgan had so much energy that she felt as though she couldn't contain herself, like she'd had a cup or 5 of James's coffee. She was almost bouncing in place at the lockers with Emily, a new kind of dance in the crowd of teens. Morg, that's ironic because I've never felt so alive," she said playfully. "What's gotten into you?" Emily laughed, looking at Morgan sideways. "Yesterday I thought you might spontaneously combust." "Yesterday," Morgan said thoughtfully. She was still forgetting that to everyone on Earth, the night had passed as a night should pass. Emily had last seen Morgan yesterday, but Morgan had seen Emily last week. "Oh, yeah, right. I just had a good night. I'm a changed girl. Everybody can change, you know." Emily laughed. They closed their lockers and walked together on their way to English. "Oh, hey, did that drawing pad work out?" Emily asked. "You know, the kid living with you, did he like it?" "My brother," Morgan said. "Yeah, did your brother like it?" Emily asked. "Yeah," Morgan said. "We both did." In English class, Morgan sat at her usual seat, right in front of Mrs. Edwards' desk, close enough to read the spine on her teacher's masterpiece. All 10 copies of it. Emily had sat beside Morgan, and when the bell rang to start class, she saw Mrs. Edwards do a double take. Morgan could hardly blame her. It was the first time she had sat beside anybody in ELA. In fact, in all her classes, she'd sat beside somebody only if there was absolutely no other choice. Morgan had a new poem face down on her desk, and as soon as Mrs. Edwards sat, Morgan reached over and handed the work to her. Mrs. Edwards accepted it. "Did you find your passion?" Morgan looked at Emily, who nodded at her with encouragement, and then looked back at her teacher. She'd written it before leaving for school, while the trip with Eli to Missawa was still fresh in her mind. She hadn't left herself much wiggle room, but it was one of those magical times when the words just came out. It was like she wasn't even writing them. "I think I did," Morgan said. Mrs. Edwards didn't want to wait to read Morgan's poem. She wheeled the television set to the front of the room, something the entire class was overjoyed to see, even cheered for, because it essentially meant no class. Stranger Than Fiction, it was always a movie about writing, started playing moments later. The students watched the movie, Emily watched Morgan, and Morgan watched Mrs. Edwards' eyes move back and forth. At last she placed the poem on her desk and seemed content to wait out the class while the movie played on. When the bell rang, all of the students filed out of the room, except Morgan, who was held back by Mrs. Edwards. The teacher didn't say a word to Morgan, just handed her the sheet of paper, nodded, and left. Alone now, Morgan flipped the paper over to find the red lettering across the top. "I knew you could do more, and I hope you know that now. Now do even better. B+. B+. Morgan started to feel the heat in her chest. She took a deep breath, and the burning sensation went away. She got a B+, so what? There was more inspiration to find on the adventures that lay ahead. And her poem was On the Barren Grounds. It took sinking under blinding white to emerge another me. Somebody I forgot I was, someone I could never see. It took facing my worst fears, stepping out into the night, to find that I was brave enough before I found the light. It took me going far away to feel this close to you. It took dreaming of a memory to change what I thought I knew. It took stars within the sky to guide my way back home, that I'll always know the way wherever I might roam." Hope you enjoyed it.